Welcome to our videos on advanced features of Google AdWords. In this video, we'll look at a Google feature to prevent a single visitor from seeing multiple test pages. And actually, one important point about this testing feature of Google, and actually this is very important when it comes to testing, is that people could potentially guess at different pages. If you call the pages test.html, test2.html, and so on, it's obvious to anyone who's interested that there are multiple versions of the page. And really, you want to avoid having one visitor click on different versions of the page, because obviously that completely messes up your statistics. Because if one visitor visits multiple versions of the page you're testing, it skews the statistics. It starts hurting how statistically correct they are. Google actually covers that very well. For example, here, if I were to change test2.html to test1 and press enter, pay attention to what happens to the address here. And actually, you can pay attention to what happens here as well. I'm taken straight back to test2. Even though I tried to go to test1, Google checked if I'd been tested upon before, and I have been tested upon before, so then it checks which page I was displayed, and I was displayed test2. So what it does, instead of showing me the page I wanted to see, it takes me back to test2, the original page I've seen. That's a very important and very powerful feature because it stops a single visitor from visiting multiple versions, and it starts making the results you get a lot more accurate, specifically because each visitor sees only one version of each page. Obviously, if one visitor kept coming back and they kept seeing a different version of the page, that's going to be confusing for them, and it's going to hurt the accuracy of the results. So that's a very powerful feature. But let's just do a test. It would be interesting to see just how Google does this. Let's go to Tools, Clear Private Data, and what that does is it clears the web's browser history. It clears cookies. It basically clears all that sort of data. And there's a similar thing you can do in Internet Explorer through the Options screen. If you aren't familiar with cookies, they're just tiny little text files that are stored on your computer, and they just save some settings. For example, when you go to Yahoo Mail, after you've visited Yahoo Mail once, the next time you visit, it may log you back in automatically, and it does that through cookies. The first time you visited, it planted a little cookie on your computer so that the next time you visit, it checks the cookie, the little text file on your computer, it sees who you are, and then logs you into your mail account. Cookies can be very helpful that way. They help websites remember you from day to day in effectively the only way they can. Obviously, if you close down your browser, a website can't remember you. But with cookies, it allows websites to actually remember certain things about you. So they store certain things on your computer. So this functionality may be done using cookies. So I've just cleared cookies to let me test this. So now if I change test2 for test1 and press enter, yes, I go to test1.html. Interestingly, this functionality is applied using cookies. It's only really useful to know that because, again, I would say a tiny percentage of people, just like people who browse without JavaScript, a tiny percentage of people are going to delete cookies regularly or daily. Many people, if not the majority, don't delete cookies, so I mention that because it will skew your results a little bit, because then your visitors who do delete cookies and come back to your site more than once may see different pages. But really, the majority aren't going to see different pages, so it isn't a huge issue to really get hung up on. It is worth knowing about to understand how this functionality works, but it's not going to make a huge statistical difference to your testing results.